Join us for a driving review of the all-new Golf R. Let's go! Here in the front, the Golf 8R, you can see here the headlamp form is different compared to the Golf 7. And then our logo here, daytime running light here, and also continued with the middle light strip there. That looks really fancy, definitely. Main headlamp unit comes LED standard, optional than the Matrix LED, which we also have here right today. The length is at 4 meters 28, 14 foot 4, or 168 inches, and wheels would standard come with 18-inch. These here are the optional 19-inch wheels. This car also has the performance pack, by the way. And then you can see this massive styling, blue contrast brake calipers, and also the special typical Volkswagen R color of lapis blue. I think a very beautiful and fitting one. It would come with a standard sport suspension, already stiffer, and minus 20 millimeters lower in comparison to the normal Golf. This one here equipped with the DCC dynamic chassis control, the adaptive suspension. And typical strong C pillar here for that Golf in this generation. Hasn't been much change as for the dimensions. It's more about what happened in the interior of the cockpit, and most important thing about the new Golf R generation, this year the all-wheel drive Golf, of course, Golf R front plus rear on demand, maximum of 50-50 distribution, but then new torque splitter on the rear axle. That means that you can split the torque between the wheels on the rear axle, and most extreme example would be the drift mode, which is included in the performance pack, and then up to 100% of the rear torque can be sent to one wheel, and this can enable drifting then even when dry asphalt, because when you, for example, steer to the right and then have 100% of the rear torque right here, then this makes the car swing around, and this will have a massive effect on driving. In the rear we can see a typical Golf hatch style, however with this massive rear wing right here, then the Volkswagen R logo and the new Golf 8 tail lamps here, three-dimensional, more modern. In the lower part the R shows the black contrast and the diffuser style, next to the optional Akrapovic exhaust, 3,700 euros extra in this case. But yeah, especially these exhausts, crackles and plops, this is really increased by that. Under the hood we have the well-known 2-liter 4-cylinder, here then with 320 horsepower, turbo petrol engine, 420 Newton meters of torque, 4.7 seconds is the acceleration figure, 200 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. That's 1.5 seconds faster than the Golf GTI. And the special thing here today, once again, all-wheel drive, of course, for the Golf R. And then at the rear axle, this torque vectoring, torque distribution between the wheels. This will give more agility. And you can see here, no gas struts, unlike in the Octavia RS. Steering wheel, capacitive buttons, our logo, lower part, digital instruments, and the seats, as also for the GTI, here in the R, come with the sporty integrated head restraint form. Standard would be that it's with fabric and also with the R stamping. Stick with the base fabric seats, they're more breathable and also more comfortable. This one today, the animal skin option. Getting inside, typical compact hatch style, shoe tab of course, and Yeah, it's a standard Golf seating position, compact hatch, and when I put the seat in lowest position with one with A6 or 6-1, still enough headroom left. Interior overview, here is soft touch dashboard, left side 10.25-inch digital instruments, Sumo deals to that. Shifting pedals here at that sporty steering wheel, blue contrast stitches, flat bottom, R logo, capacitive buttons, also soon more about that. It looks fancy, it's also illuminated, but yeah, not the best to control while driving. Right side, the R, just like the GTI and so on. Oh yeah, that's here the gesture function, receives the bigger infotainment system, being 10-inch, and also more to that software here very soon. Volume slider is right here. And temperature slider is right here, and yeah, once again, doesn't give you the best feeling again, especially to control it while driving. And that you access the climate control by clicking here, and then you can also have heated and cooled seats. In this case, then for example, you always have to go back to the main menu right here via this steering wheel. Here you can also browse through the menu a little bit. Heated steering wheel here, for example, here you change the view. And on the left side, actually, setting the cruise control. This is interesting because here one press is +1 kilometer and a hard press is +10 kilometers. A little bit hard to do that while driving with these capacitive buttons. In the Tiguan, for example, they changed it already that resume and set is plus and -1, and this is plus and -10. Maybe that will be changed with the facelift or something. And then the R mode, this directly then hops to the R driving, to the race driving mode. And it depends on when you click it once, it changes more like individually, like this, you know, here. And when you press it through, then it always goes directly to the race. And inside race, then you can switch to drift or Nürburgring, this Nordschleifen mode. And I'll talk more about that later, just very briefly. Here in the Nürburgring mode, the shifting characteristic changed, shifts up later, shifts down earlier. Also ESC is optimized, and the whole shifting is sportier, whole car, sportier, chassis and suspension all stiffened up. Here drift mode, this you can activate on closed circuit, for example, or on empty parking lot. And this delivers up to 100% of the rear torque to the outside wheel that you can really spin it around. These are the digital instruments, and this is probably my favorite view with this RPM focus, but you can have a more tech or modern view, for example. Change it right here, or like this, the more classic view, this is also possible, or then this one here, map all over the place. And of course, always an interesting option is the head-up display right here, quite clear to read. And in the rear, remember that the Golf here has the short wheelbase of this MQB platform, and that means it directly fits for tall adults. These sports is of course quite voluminous, but yeah, it's still do hit it a little bit with my knees when I'm also sitting in the front. So it's really close here. When you go for the Skoda Octavia or the Seat Leon, they have the longer wheelbase. Here the Golf and the Audi A3 have the shorter wheelbase, and that's why you don't have too much space here in the rear. Manual hatch, folding the logo right here, and then the standard Golf trunk. It's actually well usable. You see here, cabin trolley does also fit in a vertical way. In this case, underneath we have the additional Harman Kardon sound system equipment. The length here is 77 centimeters. This is a good meter of width. Welcome to Thomas's Active Driving Lounge with the new Golf R, Golf 8R. One pressing here on the R button once, just normal, goes to the drive selection and so on. But when I press a little bit further, like deeper in, it goes to the race mode directly. Then I can also switch to the Nürburgring special mode, thanks to Benny Leuchter, VW Works driver, test driver, and he explained me that mode to me earlier, and wow. You hear that plopping from the exhaust? Wow. So we're doing acceleration right now, but we first let this car pass, and then 30 kilometers to let's go. That's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and here also at higher speeds, Yeah, that's really feeling like a Nürburgring Nordschleife already. Very stable, lane change, super calm and collected. Wow, hardly any input from the steering wheel, really precise. Suspension is keeping it tight, but at the same time very comfortable. So not pushing me anything in the lower back then from the ground. Wow. Of course now quite loud in here, but of course we're driving really, really fast. Wow. Really stable now. Good on the brakes, really precise performance. Car's shifting down itself, of course, DSG, a dual clutch transmission, and especially here in this Nürburgring mode. You know, race driver Benny Leuchter told me earlier that he actually developed this mode in a way that, especially on Nürburgring Nordschleife, so you get on the brakes and then the car is shifting down so much earlier that you are in the right gear before the next corner appears. That's very interesting, definitely. And also the load changes, actually, you know, first to the front, is actually also enhanced by that. And when you have a load change to the front, you have more precise steering, more load on the front wheels, and then you can take the next corner a little bit better. Now in the tunnel here, so let's put down the window and listen to that. Oh my god. That is really something, especially here in the tunnel. And well, at least I'm just annoying some other car driver with that here and not some inhabitants somewhere. So we're in the Nürburgring mode, and well, how's the acceleration when we are already at speed, getting out of the tunnel, 80 kilometers to whatever, let's see. Once again, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Here now in that high speed corner, such a good grip from the vehicle. Wow, that feels so good in the handling, so neutrally balanced. And I really have to say, the Golf R was already one of my favorite track cars, because you don't necessarily need a true sports car building form to have fun on the racetrack, because this one here can be handled so well. And although it's front wheel driven here with the all-wheel drive and now with this torque split, it almost feels rear wheel biased. That's so cool. Alright guys, Nürburgring mode once again, because Benny Leuchter, the race driver who developed this program, told me the best way to get up Autogefuel hill would be the Nürburgring mode. And now we have this torque split in the rear axle, and let's see how that one performs. And well, uphill performance is already awesome. And once again, we have to remind ourselves it's a front wheel platform, but rear wheel drive. And yeah, I really feel how the rear axle comes around just a little bit more than it usually does with the normal Golf. And that really brings a lot of driving fun, additional driving feeling. And you can just say how calm this car stays in every situation. That's really cool. It's no wonder that it's, you know, scored a very, very good Nürburgring Nordschleife lap. Now let's push a little bit more. Road is still a little bit wet, have to be careful. Wow, exhaust cracking note once again. Once again, so much fun with this precise steering. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And how spontaneous the throttle reaction is. And what I really want to know is that drift mode here. Let's see, because now there's a hairpin corner on the left. Now I should get even more power. Need to let this car pass. And now I should get even more power on the outside wheel. Yeah, it works indeed. That's messing with your head, because you think like, wait a minute, this is not a rear-wheel driven car, but that worked. I mean, I could really hear and feel how the outside wheel, you know, on in the rear was spinning a little bit at that wet road in that hairpin corner. Wow. Yeah. So you see, even more possible now with that sportiest Golf ever. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Golf R. Visually, I mean, you can argue about if the turned around headlamps compared to the Golf 7 generation, if they're more beautiful or not. I think still a very likable car, especially here in the lapis blue color, and a great sporty look, but not too extreme. Interior, general with a nice build quality, the user interface with the capacitive touch buttons on the steering wheel and the new infotainment system. Not the biggest fan of it, probably to me the weakest point about this car. However, seating comfort is very good, and especially even more so if you take the base fabric sport seats with the nice integrated head restraint. Here with the short wheelbase Golf and Audi A3, you don't have too much space in the rear. You would rather go for a Seat Leon or Cupra Leon or the Skoda Octavia RS if you want more rear legroom. Still a very well usable car, and also as a daily driver, it's comfortable enough in everyday driving situations, and it's definitely the sportiest Golf so far because it has this torque split at the rear. You feel you can really get around the corners, and if you use that drift mode, you think like, am I driving a rear-wheel driven car? That's very, very well done. Of course, just on closed circuits, you know. So, in general, also with normal sporty driving modes, you can have a lot of fun. The Golf is, to me, also a very, very good track car. You can drive it in the city, but you can easily also drive it on the racetrack. If you take it, as it stands here, like this, performance pack, a Krabowicz exhaust, of course, you do exceed 50,000 euros. And yeah, that of course hurts then, definitely for Golf. But in comparison to other sports cars, it's still a quite good price-performance ratio. What's your take? Leave us your comment right there. See you in our comment section, and also see you next time.